Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us today at this 8th session of ISSUP Nigeria Chapter bi-monthly webinar, tagged ISSUP Nigeria Knowledge Update Series. Before we continue, let me apologize for the technical hitches we had at the earlier schedule of this webinar. For those who were able to join us on the 30th of September that experienced the technical hitches, you're welcome back. Thank you for still being able to join us at this session. For those who possibly were not able to join us then, you are also welcome. So today we shall be looking at another very important topic, which of course is the same topic that we started with the last time, that was on the 30th of September, which is standing up to peer pressure on substance abuse in schools. To lead us in the discussion is Dr. Azu Kalu Oko, Reverend. I'm hoping that either Bawo or Michael will be able to join me to moderate this session today. So briefly, let me go through that is Dr. Oko's bio. Dr. Oko is the Secretary of Abia State Branch of ISSUP Nigeria Chapter. He was ordained in 1991 by the Assemblies of God Church Nigeria as a Reverend. Motivated by the desire to serve his congregation better, he obtained a doctorate degree in counseling psychology from Abia State University, Uturu Nigeria in 2007. He belongs to several professional associations, namely Counseling Association of Nigeria, Fellow of Tertiary Counsellors Forum of Nigeria, Fellow Institute of Industrial Administration, and member International Society of Substance Use Prevention and Treatment Professionals, ISSUP. He is a senior lecturer and counseling psychologist and therapist in drug education with over 17 years of experience at Life Cycle Educational and Counseling Center, Abia State, Nigeria. This is a counseling outfit registered in 2003 and dedicated to drug education, research, counseling, and therapy. He has served as a part-time lecturer in many colleges of education and universities and as an extension program consultant to Institute of Management and Technology, Enugu. He has published 9 books on religion and counseling psychology, contributed 9 book chapters to joint publications, and published 14 academic papers in national and international journals, and 21 presentations at national and international conferences. So he's currently serving as a senior lecturer and HOD of Abia State Polytechnic Counseling Center since 2010. So please join me to welcome Dr. Oko. Dr. Oko, you are most welcome.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon, colleagues. It's a pleasure to share with you my knowledge this afternoon. I want to thank the President, Dr. Martins, for the effort he has made to schedule this program. In fact, I owe him immeasurable gratitude for all the pains. Likewise, Dr. Olivia, for the sacrifices she has made to make it possible. God bless you all in Jesus' name. The topic of our discussion is on peer pressure, standing up to peer pressure on substance abuse in schools. By the end of the webinar, participants are expected to learn about peer pressure with examples, highlight social and psychological roots of peer pressure, highlight the relationship between peer pressure and substance abuse, learn about professional techniques of negative peer pressure reversal in substance abuse, highlight factors in the school environment that make students vulnerable to substance abuse, learn about qualities of authoritative parenthood that promote negative peer pressure reversal in substance abuse. If you look at the issue of peer pressure, various studies in Nigeria reveal the following: that 25% of those arrested for sexual abuse are usually minors who were exposed to it by 13 to 14 years of age. That's NDRA. Out of every 1,000 persons in jail for substance offenses, 7% of them are youth. 13 to 39 years of age has the highest level of substance abuse and is the most vulnerable age bracket. Over the period between 2000 and 2018, the population in the 13 to 39 years age bracket significantly grew in the developing country by 18%, thus raising the overall vulnerability to substance abuse in those countries. The same age bracket corresponds to secondary school education years in Nigeria. The age bracket also corresponds to adolescence and young adulthood stages of life. Although peer pressure occurs across all ages in one form or the other, the influence is most pronounced among adolescents and youth. To understand why that influence is more pronounced there, we have to look at Erickson's theory of psychosocial development. According to that theory, there are challenges which adolescents and youth face, which make them vulnerable to that particular peer pressure. For adolescents, he listed the challenge of identity versus role confusion. And then for the young adulthood, you have the challenge of intimacy versus isolation. These challenges lead to the development of either fidelity for adolescents or love for the young adulthood. What is identity? When you say you face challenge of identity information, what does it mean? It actually means, identity means a feeling of being at home in one's body, a sense of knowing where one is going, and an inner assurance of anticipated recognition from those who count, which is self-acceptance. If you accept yourself the way God has made you, that's the first step in forming identity. Being proud of your physique, of yourself. And then you have a sense of direction, especially with career choice. You know exactly where you're heading to, what you want to become, your area of specialization. You also have a positive self-concept, which is what others know, think, and believe you are. And then self-esteem, which is what you think and believe that you are. There must be congruence between self-concept and self-esteem, because if what others know and think and believe you are is different from what you know and think and believe you are, you are liable to border on hypocrisy. So self-acceptance, self-concept, self-esteem, the congruence between all these things compose what we call identity. And because of that challenge to form that identity, the youth and adolescents are tempted to look for relationship outside the family, which is described as fidelity and love, which is therefore to develop relationship with people outside the family circle. You can see the lady there with a young man, possibly a boyfriend. They are trying to relate. That is fidelity. And according to Erickson, all these challenges result to one thing, what you call adolescent egocentrism. The child is egocentric in the sense that he is unable to take another person's point of view. The adolescent, on the other hand, takes another person's point of view to an extreme degree, thereby putting himself under pressure to conform. It's that tendency to overvalue the views and opinions of others is what he described as adolescent egocentricity, which is what brings the adolescents under pressure. That pressure actually comes from your overestimation, attaching too much importance to what people think and say about you. And because you want to develop a relationship outside the family, that feeling or attraction or that opinion is very important to you because you want to discover yourself in the reflection of others. When you pass people on the road, especially teenagers, like also the picture there, maybe you are mates, there's a feeling of attraction to look and behave like them. That feeling of attraction to look and behave like them, dress like them, is what you call peer pressure. In the diagram there, you can see the arrow coming from the picture of the 4 girls there. That arrow is the pressure. You can see the palm trying to push it back, which is your efforts trying to stop that pressure from overwhelming you. To illustrate peer group pressure better, you look at the picture of 4 girls there returning from a party. These are SS3 students in the night. If you look closely there, you can see that they are of the same age group. They are all on trousers and show back blouses, which are of the same color. They are all wearing the same type of shoes and all have hair attachments. They are working as a group with boys and are facing the same direction. If you look at their faces closely, you may see that they applied same color lipsticks, eyeshadows, facial nails, and earrings. Share same WhatsApp group, Facebook, and Twitter, and may own identical phones. On the left is the shoulder of a male peer who is interacting with them. That is exactly what peer pressure can achieve, making people to conform to others' views, others' perspectives, even against their will. Because of this, some people have described peer pressure in different ways. One describes it as fighting to fit in. It is the urge to do what your friends are doing, even if you don't really want to do it, in order to fit in with the group. See, you bring yourself under pressure because you attach too much importance to their views due to adolescent egocentricity. And then you'll be fighting to meet up with that, their views, your perspectives. Another saw it as imitation of peers. You are concerned with the directions of others toward you to the point that you are willing to do many things which are opposed to all of your previous training and to your best interests, simply because you want to conform to what your friends think or say. One Caroline described it as leadership of peers. She was involved in a drinking competition. A girl, you can see the picture there. At the end of the competition, she summed her experience in the following way. It's leadership of peers. You have to measure yourself against everyone. It's either conform or burnout. Peers were pressurizing me to forget about school, to cut classes, to join the gangs, the fights, the drinking, the drugs, secret courts, the fashion, smoking of cigarettes, and to have sex. Peers pressurized me to cheat on tests, to gossip, to strategize less popular members of the group, against my conscience and against my training. That's exactly what peer pressure can do, because of the importance you attach to the view of others more than your own particular perspective or interest. Some see it as emulation of peers. A survey of 6th graders in 22 states, 14% believe their friends have smoked marijuana, although only 4% are currently doing so. At the university level, drinking dominates social locations, partly because students overestimate their fellow students' enthusiasm for alcohol. Thinking that few students share their concern about the risk of alcohol, most students surrender to perceived norm. Sometimes it's not exactly what their friends are doing, but what you think they are doing that controls your life, that controls your behavior. So you can come from inside of you based on what you think, your perceived norm, or can come from what your friends are actually saying, from external forces, from what they are doing or what they are saying. To illustrate the importance of peer pressure, you can see the circle there.
Oh, sorry. Dr. Oko, sorry to interrupt. Are you able to put your slides on full screen presentation mode? Is that possible? Okay, at the bottom? Yes, correct. Yes. Yeah, thank you.
Is it all right?
Yes, that looks good. Is it all right? Yes, thank you.
Okay. It's all right. So the study done by Monanokam 2020 showed that 7% of high school students use tramadol to have good time with friends, which is the peer group. 15% wanted to experiment with tramadol to see what it is like. 20% used tramadol to alter their moods or for stress relief, to relieve tension and to overcome boredom and other problems. So peer pressure here is the highest number. And we know the level of abuse of tramadol in a society today because it can be bought across the counter. Students are abusing it in various forms, either a drink or a mixture of different kinds, because others are doing it. Influence of peer pressure on student abuse in schools usually go from friends to friends. Things like cigarettes, alcohol, marijuana, pills are frequently distributed at parties where a non-user cannot refuse to participate without appearing square and not sophisticated. Many teenagers will literally risk their lives if they thought their peer group demanded them to do so. And this need for social approval is instrumental in the initiation of most substance habits. By their words and examples, peers influence attitudes about substances. They also throw the parties and provide the substances. If an adolescent friends use drugs, the odds are that he or she will do. If the friends do not, the opportunity may not even arise. What are the reasons that adolescents give for indulging in substance abuse? The most popular reason is that it's a step for relieving of stress, kind of catharsis. Peer groups coerce and induce members to take something with the argument that it provides relief from stress and tension. And what are those stresses? In the school environment, we have the different types of stress: adjustment to new environment, physical body changes due to growth and maturation, rigorous academic demands such as writing 3 exams on the same day. That is very common in Nigeria. Separation anxiety from family and friends, anxiety over the future career, physical and emotional sickness, challenge of long-held religious beliefs due to exposure to things like philosophy in the classroom and the rest of them, limitations on social and religious freedom, changes in sleep patterns and eating habits, increased financial responsibilities, having to share living space and possessions with strangers, insecurity from cultists, and sexual adjustment. These are sources of stress which make adolescents prone to substance abuse in the school environment. Others argue that substance serves as a stimulant for heroic, challenging, risky tasks. Substances dull the judgment and emotions, thereby enabling someone to do or say things they ordinarily could not have done or said. It's a cure for low self-esteem, cowardice, low self-concept, fear, crowd phobia, and apathy. We have 3 examples there. The rush. So when you use this drug, there is no crowd you cannot face. And it helps to lose your tongues to say anything without fear. So in SUG campaigns, political campaigns, people take the drug to be as bold as possible. You have cocaine as an example, which stimulates the central nervous system and keeps the user active for several hours, especially when used at night. They get the boost to work late into the night. For students who want to read throughout the whole night. You have cannabis sativa, which gives strength for violent protests and aggression, political thuggery, and court clashes. These things are all obtainable in our school environment. What are the professional techniques for reversing this negative peer pressure in the school system? You can see the picture there of early teenagers there indulging in drinking competition. We cannot stop negative peer pressure, that is a fact, but you can resist it. Some people like withdraw their children from their friends and so on. It's not the best thing because isolation from peers will also be detrimental. Peers are necessary agents of socialization. You need them to develop social skills and the rest of them. So the best answer is not withdrawal, and to apply professional techniques which can help the child to survive peer pressure. One of these techniques is assertiveness skill technique, borrowed from Wolpe psychotherapy by risk inhibition. It involves standing up for individual rights and expressing thoughts, feelings, and beliefs in direct, honest, appropriate ways. We do not violate another person's rights. When you are assertive, you are able to stand for your rights. It is your right to choose or not to choose, to join or not to join. But you do it without violating somebody's rights, without dominating, humiliating, getting the person. The speech must go with non-verbal behavior, such as duration of looking at the other person's eye, duration of speech, and loudness of speech. The non-verbal behavior must be congruent with the verbal behavior to support, strengthen, and emphasize what is being said. If you are assertive and you are looking down, afraid of looking the person to the face, you see, the non-verbal behavior may make your speech sound very, very light. You must balance what you are saying with the appropriate non-verbal behavior, eye to eye, face to face, for the person to know that you are serious. The reason why you can assert is because we have 3 fundamental rights of relationship. One is the right to make a request. It's not an offense for your friends or peers to offer you a cigarette, offer you a drug, a wrap of cocaine. They are not committing any offense. They are just making a request, join us. But you have the right to accept or reject that request. It's also your own fundamental right. The second right there. The right to make a request is one, but the right to reject or accept is also another right. And then you have the third right here, the right to correct an error or mistake. When somebody offers you a drug, he has not committed offense. You have the right to say yes or no to that offer. And that is what you should stand on, your own right to say, I don't want it. And when the person goes beyond that, you are reply to coerce you, intimidate you, or do anything to force you against that your choice, is not committing an error. And you have the right to correct that error. So assertion is very, very important, especially for those who are shy, who can hardly say no because of unrealistic anxiety. When you comply to every request, you see, you suffer tremendous anguish because your self-confidence will be easily injured and you'll not be happy about it. So to be assertive includes choosing how to relate, standing by your yes or no, having weighed the risk and the benefits. In this context, it means to behave in the way most likely to preserve that you are right. Sometimes the best approach is to be conciliatory. Sometimes you have to resist and be insistent. There are times the best thing is to walk away from the group. There are times the best thing is to defend yourself by resisting forcibly if there is a physical attack. It could also mean appealing to others for help. It could also mean calling police, reporting to your parents, or reporting to authorities. All these are forms of assertion, as long as they are meant to protect your right to reject or accept, as against his or her own right to offer something to you. And as adolescents, one must be drilled to understanding the importance of assertive technique in resisting peer pressure. The second day is cognitive behavior therapy by Abia State. CBT is an effort to modify behavior by restructuring thinking patterns of subjects through interpretation of meaning attached to significant variables in their lives. It involves helping the clients to learn to monitor self-defeating thoughts and also to substitute those thoughts with self-enhancing or coping thoughts. These are examples of irrational or self-defeating thoughts, which many adolescents share. Everyone is doing it, so it is not bad. Abstinence makes one inferior to others. These are erroneous thoughts. They are irrational beliefs. Adolescence is synonymous with stubbornness, aggression, indulgence, and conformity. Majority is always right, which we know is not true. At least in slave trade, in killing of twins in Africa, majority were proved wrong. Rudeness and sauciness amount to boldness. Physical aggression is assertion. No. A person must be loved by everyone for every action, instead of focusing on self-respect and on loving rather than being loved. It is always wrong to make a sin or to be disliked by others. Drug is the best solution to stress and frustration. These are erroneous thoughts, which CBT is designed to correct. You reason with the person and then replace that erroneous conviction with the appropriate, self-enhancing, positive adjustment convictions. We have another one there, bibliotherapy technique. This is an attempt to change or check peer pressure by reading censored cases of people in similar situations as a client. Behavior can be learned or unlearned by reading printed materials, books, handouts, magazines, newspapers, and so on, under the guidance of a therapist. You see, here you read ahead of time, find material that are appropriate to the particular problem you are facing, or your child is facing, or the teenager is facing, then recommend that particular material. The word there is censored, means you have gone through it, you are sure it will teach the right lesson and help the person to overcome the problem. You also have electronic media technique, where you use censored audio media, censored visual media, censored audio-visual media to generate thoughts, reasonings, discussions, and debates, interests, impressions on negative peer pressure and the best way to overcome them. You look at the material before time, know their contents, and then use them, recommend them to the clients to read, to view, to listen to, in order to help the person overcome the negative peer influence. You have the next one there, substitution technique, which is a way to promote peer pressure. In substitution, you can see the group there, positive peer pressure group, which is voluntary. In substitution, what you do is to change the group that particular child is following. You cannot change the child, but you adjust the child to the right thing by recommending a positive group. I'll give you an example. A student joined our school, and then before matriculation, he wanted to join the K-Guys group. He saw their uniform, they were preparing for the inauguration. The mother discovered that he was about to join the K-Guys. So the woman traced him to the school, to the HOD's office. They called the boy. She said vehemently, your mother believes in total abstinence. Your father believes in total abstinence. My son cannot be a member of a palm wine drinking group. The line between drink and drunkenness is very, very narrow, so you cannot join that group. So the HOD recommended I refer them to the counseling center. When they came, we simply looked at the situation. The boy wants to associate with his colleagues, his peers. There's no problem with that. The problem is the group is trying to join. So we recommended positive groups. Council of the Assemblies of God, Thunderbolt Prayer Group, FDA Group, Scripture Union, many of them as alternative groups you can join. And then ask him to choose any of them in place of K-Guys. So he chose the Thunderbolt. We helped him to return the uniform to the K-Guys group and delist his name from the group. That is an example of substitution technique. We didn't really worry him, only we changed the group he wanted to belong to. The examples here, the Reach America is a group, responsible educated adolescents can help America. These are a group of high school students devoted to fight drug abuse in different forms and alcohol abuse. You have the Triple S, students staying straight. This is what you tell peer monitor. Students lead themselves and then they monitor themselves on the campus to make sure each person is behaving in the right way and abstaining from substance abuse. You have the drug-free clubs we know very well, where people students learn about drugs, their side effects, and then how to tackle them in different ways. You have the school mother or master mentorship, where you can assign your child to a senior student whose character you are very much aware of, that is positive, for that person to influence that your child in the right direction. We have the peer leaders. These are students are committed not to drink or indulge in sex in any form. You have the project 714, which is from the Bible, 2 Chronicles 7:14, where the Bible says, if my people called by my name shall humble themselves, confess their sins, and pray, I will answer from heaven and heal their land. This is a group committed to prayer and scriptural instruction to help adolescents adjust to positive peer pressure. You have the sublimation technique. Sublimation is the channeling of impulses regarded as the forbidden, especially sexual desires, towards activities regarded as mutually acceptable, often creative activities. Here's the football team here. A girl called Lisa organized a Bible study group. She tests karate lessons, 3 karate lessons, 3 days a week. She's a member of the student council, captain of the safety patrol, a reporter for kids television, and editor of her school newspaper. All these things will keep her busy. And when you are busy, you have no time for negative peer pressure, negative peer group, negative association. The energy that will be wasted in drug or substance will now go to positive issues and positive assignments, like football playing there. The next technique there is self-control technique. The emphasis on self-control is basically self-responsibility, holding yourself accountable for your actions. And we must learn that. You can see the young man, that the lady, she's trying to say, I don't want beyond this boundary. You set the standard for your friends. And then arm yourself with Isabel already made excuses for escape in case they approach you, with information about dangers of sex, alcohol, and the rest of them. Exam and practice so that whenever they talk about you, you have something to say reasonable to ward off whatever they are trying to use to convince you. Something that will make them think about what they are doing. Or you can just change the subject of discussion to something more positive. You offer a better idea as somebody who is responsible. Under self-control state, it's very important to believe in yourself. Remember that when you believe in yourself and you say no to negative peer pressure, you are really saying yes to yourself, to your destiny, to your career, to your parents' dream, to your academics, and the rest of them. When you say no, you are saying yes to your destiny and to the dream of your parents. So you have to make up your mind to be different, to stand out. It's part of self-control technique. Or you just leave the scene. When the gather are talking about trans, violence, all these kind of things, simply walk away from that pressure to something more positive somewhere. What is the role of parents in negative peer pressure reversal? The role of parents actually borders on authoritative parenting as against laissez-faire and authoritarian parenthood. It simply means providing freedom but not license. Providing freedom, not license. You allow your child considerable freedom, but you monitor to what extent that freedom is being used so that it cannot be abused. You can see the lady there. The child is focusing on social media on the phone. Look at the earphone, leaving everywhere. The mother is shouting, "This I don't want to this extent," and even pulling away the earpiece from her. So you choose your battles wisely under authoritative parenthood. Don't go for minor things. The color of the maybe lipstick, color of the shoes she's wearing. No. There are more important things. Stand for it. Choose your battles wisely. Once she's heading towards an unhealthy line, following wrong people, unhealthy habits, you stand your ground as a parent and follow your threats to the conclusion. When you say, I will do this, I'll punish you, follow it to the letter. That is total parenthood. On those important issues, like the mother, the woman, she came to the school, tracked the boy, went to the HOD, came to the and said, you cannot be a K guide, period. You are free to be an admin, but not a K guide. You can't be a member of a drinking party. That is authoritative parenting. And it calls for building relationship closer with your child so that you can communicate easily with the child and know exactly what he or she is passing through. You get to know their friends, those who are living and moving with your child, and pay attention to how they spend their time and with whom. It calls for positive reinforcement through praise on strength. When they do right, recognize it. Then give them time and attention. Talk with them and listen to them. Celebrate with them on victories. And then show unconditional positive regard because you are the mother. Even after all the quarreling, after all the punishment, you still have to accept the child. It's your child. Reconcile and move forward. Be a role model. A parent who indulges in certain abuse cannot influence the youth not to do that. So learn from Let them learn from you. Do as I do, but do as I say never work. They must do as you do, and what you do must be the right thing. They need your assistance, even though they may not admit it. And finally, you need to pray with them and pray for them. Prayer helps a lot in checking some of these negative influences. For conclusion, we have the eclectic approach. Eclectic means blending of techniques when necessary. It yields a more comprehensive result and helps the client to develop necessary skills for independent solution to problems. They don't have to depend on you all the time. When you blend techniques, the client becomes more independent in facing or solving his or her own problem. Thank you very much for listening.
Thank you so much, Dr. Oko, for this excellent presentation. I want to believe that participants have benefited so much from your wealth of experience. While we await for or collate the questions, maybe a quick reminder still that if you have any question, please drop the questions using the chat box. Dr. Oko has made us to understand or have a better understanding of what constitutes identity as defined by Erik Erikson. That was wonderful, I must say. And also made us to have understanding of the different types of stresses, that put individuals at risk, which generally could be referred to as risk factors, whether within the family setting or within the school setting. And he also made us to understand that there are positive peer pressure as well as a negative peer pressure. And one thing that is very significant there is the fact that he made us to understand that you cannot stop negative peer pressure, but of course you can resist it. I think my takeaway from there is that in whatever way, negative pressure will always be there. It can come in different ways. People will always be there to influence one negatively. That simply means negative peer pressure will always be there. But what do you do to resist such negative peer pressure, which simply means that you can resist it? The fact that people will always be there to influence others negatively is not something you can stop as one who wants to resist it. So negative peer pressure will always be there. People will always be there that we engage in one negative thing or the other. But what should be our responsibilities or our role as leaders is to equip the young ones to be able to resist this negative peer pressure. And of course, you listed so many techniques, that are available for use within the school and other settings to address this negative peer pressure. One of which is the assertive skills technique. Of course, that I must say you elaborated so well on it. Of course, again, substitution group, cognitive behavioral therapy, and of course, mentorship, sublimation, and the self-control technique. And I always remember the rational emotive therapy, which of course is also very important, the RECT for short. So you also went further to enlighten us or to educate us on the role of parents and school functionaries in reversing negative peer pressure. And one thing that is very significant there, you said, is that the young ones rely or work more with what they see versus what they hear. So what that simply means is that as adults, we should portray positive role model for the young ones. It's not an issue of do what I say and you are doing something different. So once again, thank you so much for this excellent presentation. We're looking at, the questions. Okay, but before I take this next question or this very first question, you may just take 1 minute or so because of the international audience to tell us, just define, even though you already explained it, what Keggite means, Keggite group. Many from Nigeria will have a good understanding of what that means, with your explanation very clear. You can just tell us what that means, maybe in few words. Thank you.
Okay. Yeah, you have many student groups on the campus, associations of different kinds. The Kega group is a group of students that believe in palm wine, the cultural tradition of drinking palm wine, African palm wine. They beat drum, big African music, African palm wine. It's just a social group on the campus. So some students, when they join the campus, want to belong to that. You'll be known for drinking palm wine. Let me not call that alcoholism, because they're limited to palm wine drinking, which we know is a form of drug, it's alcohol. It can lead to drunkenness. Some students join, it is allowed. That particular parent said, no, you see, I believe in total abstinence, which is the best policy for families and for children. Because when you begin to drink, I know many students that who take guys became drunkards on the campus. One was lying down the road one day, and I called the ISSUP to say, look at your fellow mate on the road. He said, no, we don't have such students because he drank the wine by himself. We cannot help him. He chose to let him die on the road there. Students are over that kind of thing. So Kega is a palm wine drinking group on the campus. Some join it, some don't join it. They wanted to join it, and he said, no, I don't want it.
Thank you very much for that clarification. So just to buttress the point you have made, the Kegite group is more of a palm wine group or alcohol drinking group, so that is what it is, and we should know that palm wine in particular is common in Nigeria, so it's more of alcohol drinking group. Thank you so much for that clarification. So we have one question here for you. Incidentally, my memory seems not to be serving me very well in terms of being able to actually get the acronym. I don't want to make a mistake. So it's saying, is it possible to address the issue of drug use among the young people without taking proper approach to Article 33 of CRC, considering the challenges faced by children from addictive parents? This question is from Barrister Gladys Chibuzo. Barrister Gladys, I'm actually trying not to make a mistake in terms of the acronym CRC. It could actually mean different acronym to different people. Except Dr. Oko, you can deduce that from your presentation if that is part of it. Otherwise, you can please help us so that we are very sure of the article you are referring to. I have a sense of what you're talking about, but I cannot be so certain. Thank you.
Which one? I don't know what you mean by the question. CRC or what?
Yes, CRC.
I don't understand exactly what is. Is it CBT or CRC?
CRC.
Is it on the paper there?
Article CRC. Okay, so while we are waiting for that clarification to have the full meaning of that acronym, then there's another question. Okay. Is authoritative parenting really the best parenting style to resist negative peer pressure? The question again is authoritative parenting really the best parenting style to resist negative peer pressure? Dr. Oko, over to you.
Yes. Yes, it is the best because adolescents are facing the challenge of identity formation. So self-esteem and self-concept are very important to them. When you authoritarian, you put them down. It's like pressing them down, making them feel like they are nobody. It makes the situation worse. But authoritative parenting recognizes them as people, someone, and relates to them with respect, even though you are very strict on what you say no to and what you say yes to. So it's the best. All ideas that fail, you overlook them, whatever they want to do, they will go astray. The authoritarian parenthood, you force them to do your way when they will rebelling inside. And you know, as young people, they are prone to go astray in different forms. They are prone to disobedience and stubbornness. But authoritarian parenthood recognizes those factors. So there is an element of respect recognition, but at the same time, strictness, to make sure the person doesn't go astray.
Okay, thank you very much, Dr. Oko. I also want to believe that some participants and experts may want to disagree on that when it comes to which one is preferable, whether authoritative or democratic, or as the case may be. But in some cases, some will say more or less a combination of all, depending on the situation. So. But that is fine. That is fine. So thank you, Gladys and Olivia, for clarifying this. That was what I had in mind, really, but I didn't just want to jump into what the CRC means. So we're talking of Article 33, that is the Convention on the Rights of Children. Convention on the Rights of Children. Yes, so can we really address the issue of substance abuse without paying attention to the Convention on the Rights of Children? I think it's still very much related to the question that was asked earlier, because authoritative parenting at times could infringe on the rights of children. So you may still want to say something on that. Thank you.
Yes. I don't think it's an infringement, because where the rights of the child ends is where that of the parents begin. Teenagers are still under the parents. Even when they are out, you are carrying the family name. So you can't just do anything, because it's a legacy before you were born, which you have to protect in the family image, the family reputation, and the rest of them. So in as much as we respect their rights, recognize them, they cannot also violate or tarnish the image of the family. So it doesn't violate it. That's the two rights. Where the right begins, ends is where the right of the parents or the family begins. And two rights must be preserved. That is why there is need to be assertive, to correct when there's error, and to make sure the person is on the right tracks.
Okay, thank you so much for that response. Then another question we have here is, what can leaders and the community do to help youth aside from parents and the right style of parenting? I take the question again. What can leaders and the community do to help youth aside from parents and the right style of parenting? So what can the community or leaders do?
Okay. I think the most important thing is enabling environment for positive peer pressure. Sometimes, like in Nigeria now, the insecurity is making it very difficult to do many volunteer work, voluntary actions that people should participate in. There are many other ways youth can be engaged in, which will make them come up better, but which you cannot do because, like where I'm living in Abia, for 5 o'clock, people are already inside because of criminals and the rest of them. There is no time for proper socialization. The insecurity level is so high that you can't even plan an outreach without the police protection. So the community should rather create enabling environments in terms of good education, in terms of safe environment, and in terms of providing necessary amenities for youth to engage in and start to become better citizens of the country.
Okay, thank you so much. So the community has a role to play. Everyone has a role to play. So the community should make sure that there is a more safe environment, or a better environment, right, to avoid negative peer pressure. Thank you. So one of the participants, I want you to express more on the sublimation technique in controlling negative peer pressure reversal. So more explanation on sublimation technique.
Okay. It's simply, sublimation has to do with putting the negative pressure into meaningful activities. For example, you see the football team there I gave you there. Instead of indulging in substance abuse, in sex and the rest of them, the child goes to play football, joins a club, participates in voluntary work, and by so doing, you have no time even to meet with those negative friends, and no energy for those, because you come back tired and you sleep. Sublimation is one of the ways to channel your energy to the rightful things, because when you are idle, the energy will go to the wrong avenues. The more you monitor, the more you talk about, the more you move with that direction, the more you meet the gangs and you see them along the road. And the more you join, the more you are influenced. When you have a purpose and a target, and you are meaningfully engaged in something positive, converting that energy that has been used for crime to something more meaningful. Sublimation.
Okay, thank you very much for the more detailed explanation on sublimation, in addition to what you have already what you did earlier on. So, further question on the issue of child rights. This now is still from Gladys seeking clarification, or maybe for you to still enlighten us, especially the rights of children whose parents use these psychoactive substances. So to put the question straight away, she has put it here, what kind of protection or rights do the children have, especially for children whose parents use these psychoactive substances? So how do we address this? How do we protect the right of these children? Because the fact that their parents use these substances puts them at risk in one way or the other. So how do we protect their rights so that their right is not infringed on? Smoking, for example, you can have secondhand smoking or so, and things like that. So how do you protect their rights?
Okay, there are two approaches. First, to the parents or the relation asking the child to indulge, we always suggest that you say no with an alternative. Say to your dad, see, that like when they send you to go and buy alcohol for them, you reject the mission, but ask the third person, if it is this, I'll do it for you. You offer an alternative. You don't say no, but you say no, I can do this, I can do this, I can do this. Showing that you are still obedient as a child, but at the same time, you are against that particular tendency or action. You don't want to indulge in substance, but you can do any other thing for that particular parent. So you always reject that offer or that mission to come buy or whatever by presenting an alternative thing that you can do to show your compliance. Then secondly, in terms of the influence of the parents, and it depends on where you are. Where the child, sometimes the church can help so much in helping the child to navigate through that evil influence, because the influence of the church will be countering the influence of the parents at home. Same thing, counselors can as well do it. So when the child reports that you are suffering from maybe that influence at home, either you assign the child, the counselor will pay more attention, talk to the parents, appeal to their conscience, to respect the rights of the child, or the church can also help so much in that. Some of us were born by even parents who drink, but we overcame it through the influence of the church. It's not good to drink. Don't be a parent, but tell them that you don't want to drink, but you can do anything for them.
Thank you very much. I think you have also addressed the aspect of children where their parents even not just using now, but deal in these psychoactive substances. So some parents sell these social drugs, I would say, alcohol, cigarettes, and so on. And beyond that, also traffic in or deal in illicit substances. So you can see how the lives of the children are more or less put at risk in one way or the other. I think you have explained very well on what the child could do. But this also is a question of how we address it in such a way that the children will not look as if they are being disobedient to their parents, and at the same time maintaining their rights. I think this is also the responsibility of everyone, including those in the, of course, the government, the law enforcement, and the others, to be sure that the rights of children whose parents are into this trade are protected. So let's look whether there's any other question. So maybe, okay, one is coming in. Okay, no more questions for now. But before we round off, I will just have a few minutes. From all that you have said in the course of this presentation, especially that you are in the school setting, so how much of this do the school setting put into consideration, in helping the adolescent population, especially the stressors, which of course are risk factors for substance use. So how much of this do the school setting put into consideration in their activities in order not to expose this population to substance use?
I believe they are making considerable efforts, though not perfect. You see, in many schools today, the counselor is a member of the academic board, where maybe you plan the exams and so on. So it is your work as a member of the board to chip in some of these ideas when they are drawing the programs. So highlight on the implications of some of them, so that the management can as well think over what they want to do and do the right thing at the right time. That's why the counselor should be a member of the board. In many schools, it's happening. Some don't yet comply to that, but we recommend that the counselor of the school should be a member of the academic board, so that you be a part of the plan of the program and whatever they're doing there, and you can help to guide to make sure, like that's writing 3 exams, 4 exams in one day. These things are not realistic. You see, we could check it in several other ways than forcing students, pressing them into that, which will not to stay awake, take tramadol to stay awake throughout the whole night to read for 4 exams or 3 exams in one day. That is the work of the counselor in the school, and every school today, tertiary or secondary, has a counselor by class.
Thank you so much. I must once again commend you for your wealth of experience and the expertise with which you presented your slides and the explanations, response to questions and so on. I think your presentation, I must say, has challenged us as a body, as ISSUP, to also look at the school setting, actually using this knowledge, to see how we can address the school population to be sure that pressures that will put the young ones at risk of substance use at least are reduced to the barest minimum. And participants will also agree with me that that is the beauty of ISSUP, bringing professionals from different fields, into the body to be sure that they share their different experiences. But now, from this presentation, it is also very clear that the school setting has a lot to do in addressing the issue of substance use of course, in Nigeria, in particular, definitely across the globe. So thank you once again. And for the participants, well, I know if you had the opportunity to more or less make further comments, on what you have learned today, I want to believe that it's been a great learning experience. So thank you for joining us. Thank you for your questions, and thank you for being part of ISSUP family. So on behalf of the Board of Trustees of ISSUP Nigeria Chapter and the Executive Council, I say thank you for joining us as we look forward to another learning opportunity sometime in November that is coming up, and we will be sharing that information. And I definitely will not forget to thank ISSUP Global for all the support. And a quick reminder that on the 26th of this October, we shall be having ISSUP conference and annual general meeting. I want to know that our international colleagues will be able to join us at least as part of actually doing the conference session. So it is on this note, once again, I say thank you everyone for joining us, and bye for now.
Thank you.